Welcome to Smalls Talks Balls, presented by Champions Round. And now your host, Steph Smalls.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Smalls Talks Balls is back, continuing this 32-team preview. Took a couple days off. I hope everyone had a good Memorial's Day. Got to keep going with the AFC North. Heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here with me, finally, we've been trying to get together and collab since I have been in this space, is Jarrett Bailey, who covers NFL for SINow, USA Today, and the Third Team FB. Hopefully I got that right. How are you doing, Jarrett?
Fantastic. I'm just retweeting this if I can find it on your Twitter anywhere. But yeah, don't worry. I promise I'm not just scrolling. But no, I'm good. No, yeah. We were talking in the lobby before this. We've been like Twitter friends for like 2 years, and this is the first time we've done like anything. So that feels like a crime.
It's been forever. Are you working on anything new? What's going on? Tell me.
Anything new? Yes, actually. I'm gonna keep it under wraps though until like we get closer to the season because it's like actually relatively big. But yes, something new. I promise.
I love it. All right, let's jump into the Steelers. That's why you're here. I won't waste any more of your time between margarita breaks and technical difficulties. So we'll jump right in.
Margarita breaks.
The Steelers, they're turning a new leaf. Things are changing. GM changes, quarterback changes. Talk to me about the draft first, though, because there's a lot to talk about this team. Let's talk about this draft that you just had. Give me overall thoughts on how it went.
I don't know. Anybody who followed me on Twitter knows I wasn't exactly like happy round one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. That's where I'm at right now. Is like we'll see. Thor talked me into Malik Willis being the pick for Pittsburgh. I was ready. I was excited. I was hoping it would happen. Obviously, it didn't. I threw a little bit of a temper tantrum when Kenny Pickett was the pick. Yeah. No, as sports fans, that tends to happen every once in a while. So, but no, I mean, getting George Pickens, getting DeMarvin Leal, who's going to have a bigger role now that Stephon Tuitt retired.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a new era. So we'll see. Apparently, the reports out of OTAs is that Kenny Pickett isn't getting a ton of first-team reps, which is a little bit surprising. So it seems like they're leaning toward having Mitch, kind of be the guy who's got kind of penciled in as QB1 going into camp. So we'll see how that plays out throughout camp and preseason. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic is how I'll put it.
I think that's fair. And I think also, which Steelers fans, I will say, you are quite spoiled. So this is going to be, I think Steelers fans are going to have to learn like some coping mechanisms because I don't know that it's, tempering expectations and realizing like, I think I was looking before the show and the last time you guys even came in third, let alone fourth, third in this division was 2012. Okay, 2012. I think I had just graduated high school. And then the last time you came in fourth, I would bet any money you were not even born yet. So it was 99. So this is
I was born in 98, so I was born.
Okay, you were born. You were barely born, though. You didn't know what was even happening with the Steelers.
Correct.
So this is a franchise that has historically just done, you could argue it is the most well-run organization in the NFL. I give them a lot of kudos. I think they make smart decisions, but of course, there's changes coming, and quarterback is the biggest one. You have Big Ben, who is beloved by your franchise, who has done nothing but help you win. It was a little sad and kind of difficult to watch him towards the end there because it's like, time to leave. Probably same thing happened with Drew Brees. It gets a little painful because you want to remember them for their legacy. Quarterback situation. What do we think? Mitch Trubisky. I'll let you talk and then I'll give my spiel.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky. What to say about Mitch Trubisky? I mean, he wasn't my first choice. He probably wasn't a lot of people's first choices. I would have loved to see them get aggressive and give away, a king's ransom for Russell Wilson or, I was banging the Aaron Rodgers drum since like last April. So that was pretty disappointing. But yeah, no, once those two dominoes fell where Rodgers said, okay, going back to Green Bay, and then like 10 minutes later, Russell Wilson was traded to Denver, then it just became, all right, maybe Kirk Cousins, and then Kirk Cousins signs an extension and everybody let out a collective groan. So it was like, all right, it's not going to be Kirk Cousins, maybe Carson Wentz, and then he gets shipped off to Washington. So we're like, who the hell's left? And then Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe, and that nothing came of that. So after that, I mean, the remaining options were either Deshaun Watson, which comes with his own set of off the field issues that are going to get more attention than anything he does on the field. And so Mitch just felt like the safe stopgap who, isn't a terrible quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. We've kind of seen what he is. He's an athletic guy who doesn't have a ginormous arm, but a year as a backup spent in Buffalo with a good organization behind Josh Allen with a good coaching staff, bringing him into a situation like Pittsburgh, I feel like he can be what you need him to be. He can be a guy who throws like 19 touchdowns, isn't going to throw a bunch of picks, can throw the swing pass to Najee Harris and dump it off to Pat Freiermuth in a jam. That's all they need him to be. Now, if he ends up being a little bit better than that, then great. I think he's got a high floor, low ceiling. And I think that's what we've come to expect from Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, which is funny because I think that was kind of my feelings. I think I could have said exactly the same thing about Kenny Pickett, which made this an interesting move. I think they went after the accuracy and they said, okay, what do? We need a, start tomorrow if we need him to, or sit a little bit, but we need someone to come in that's going to be able to win. And I think he was the most NFL ready. I think that you can make that argument there. Malik Willis started to feel like a smokescreen because there was almost too much. Like when they were like talking about who ordered what at dinner, like it's obviously getting like now we're getting a little bit ridiculous. And I think with Mitch Trubisky, I think with the whole quarterback situation, you have guys that can go out there and win. I don't know how many games they can win. Do you think the offensive line is going to be a problem next year?
I think they're in a better spot going into this year than they were last year. Last year, Marquise Pouncey had just retired. They released David DeCastro because, he's dealing with a litany of injuries that were going to keep him out. So it was a lot of, just grabbing and filling places. Now, we kind of know that Kendrick Green isn't the answer at center. It looks like he's going to be moving back to guard, which tells me that either James Daniels, the signee from Chicago, or Mason Cole, a signee from Minnesota, are going to kind of duke it out for the starting center spot. So, they have depth on the interior. Kevin Dotson's been a really solid guard for them. And then on the outside, they brought back Chuck Okorafor, which wasn't a very popular move, but it was a cheap move. And, for as much crap as Okorafor gets, they could do worse. And then Dan Moore got better as time went on last season at left tackle. So it's nothing incredible by any means. It's not, the Steelers offensive line of, 2017, 2019, those years. But I think it's better than where they were at this point last year, which is, it's at least something.
Right. I think that they've done, if anything, they have improved to some extent. And I think they made moves, like even in the draft, I know DeMarvin Leal, that was a move that everyone, had questions around. And even Mark Robinson, I don't think these moves are as ridiculous as everyone thinks. I talked about this, I think it was on the Brown show doing their preview, is in a position that you're every year not a crappy team. Like no matter the Steelers are not a crappy team. We just talked about the last time that they even came in third place. They're not a crappy team. They have the luxury of putting in some depth spots, taking younger guys that have versatility, and if they're able to make something of it in camp, then you might have guys, in the future that end up looking like steals. And I think the Steelers, they just didn't go into this draft being theatrical. They weren't going to reach for a quarterback. They weren't going to make moves that were going to put them behind at all. Because if they need to, what do you think the odds are? Let's just say the year plays out. Do you envision them going after a quarterback again next year?
No, I don't think so. I think the worst case scenario for them this year is it's going to be Mitch starts the season, Mitch struggles, Kenny's in by week 6. I think that's absolutely worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I think best case scenario is either Pickett wins the job in camp, has a really good year, and they're an 8, 9, 10 win team maybe. I think the cap for them is 10 wins. Or, Mitch wins the job in camp, has a really solid year. And then I guess the kind of question is, okay, well then do they move forward with Mitch Trubisky? Do they keep Kenny Pickett? So I think that those are, for Pittsburgh, we've seen too many times that there's a bunch of people saying, "Oh, they're going to be a 6-win team." The Steelers aren't going to only win 6 games. They went.
I remember myself saying that last year. Like
they went 8-8 with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges for an entire year. Their defense is still fantastic. TJ Watt's coming off a year in which he was Defensive Player of the Year. Minka Fitzpatrick's still there. They add Miles Jack in the middle. So this is a team, plus in the secondary, I mean, they're better than what they were at this point last year, too. Like, I love Joe Hayden, but it was clear that a step was lost. They bring back Ahkello Witherspoon. They sign Levi Wallace from Buffalo. Like, there's not a lot of holes on the Steelers defense right now. I would argue there's probably maybe the only hole is middle linebacker, where you don't know what you're going to be getting from Devin Bush. But, I mean, they had an offseason that they didn't do anything, like, incredibly sexy, per se, but they filled what was needed to be filled. So I think worst case scenario, they're an 8-9 team, 9-8 team. They miss the playoffs. I think best case scenario, they win 10 games, sneak into the wild card spot. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they'll be competitive until the very end.
Yeah, and I think also we learned around this time of the year that there's only so much camp talk that you really should be listening to, especially on a team, right? Like the Steelers are a perfect example. I mean, this is at the end of the day is a new offense. There's going to be a new feel to it when you have a veteran like Big Ben going out the door. Things are going to change. Canada was promoted in 2021 to OC. I don't know that he ever got he's got a lot of criticism, but how much of that is that he hasn't been able to fully unleash the way that he wants to run the offense? And I think the offense looks different. And you're hearing that from some of the guys. I know Freiermuth, when he interviewed, maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, saying like, it's different. Like it's going to be different because Ben is no longer here. It's not going to look the same. So there's going to be changes. And maybe that's why Pickett isn't getting as many reps. Talk to me about Canada. How do you feel about him moving into next year?
Yeah, no, I think that this is going to be the first year that we kind of see Matt Canada's offense put on full display, because as much as I love Ben Roethlisberger, there's a reason that they didn't throw it over the middle of the field. Is because they were horrified of what would happen if they did. So any deep shot that they took, it was down the sideline because it was either going to be complete or fall harmlessly out of bounds. Ben's arm strength just didn't have it to go, 20 yards between the hashes. It just wasn't going to happen. So I think that, I don't know, Kenny Pickett doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but it's a hell of a lot better. And the same thing for Mitch Trubisky. Like, it's a hell of a lot better than, the mummified version of Ben Roethlisberger that we saw in 2021. Now, by the way, we can crap on Ben all we want to, but do you know who had the most fourth quarter comeback wins in the NFL last year? It was Ben frickin' Roethlisberger. Of
course it was. You can't lose that. You don't lose things like that. Like, that's because that's what you just talk about, like, just pure talent. Like, you could go out there, who knows how freaking old someone could still pull that off. Like, that's how you're able to see even these guys that, yesterday in the match, you see Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Brady, and Rodgers just managing to actually play a decent golf. We wanted to watch it. These guys are so athletic and talented. Like, their capabilities are different. They're not average human beings. So Big Ben, I applaud. I think that he couldn't have gone out also in like a better way. Of course, you'd like to see a little bit more wins or you guys got plenty of happiness from him, but I think you made a good point.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing too. Like, Steelers fans, like, being a Steeler fan is so painful sometimes, because like the average Steeler fan is the most annoying human being on the face of this planet. Mm-hmm. So, and I was talking about this with Matt Verderam today, because there was some ranking, like somebody had ranked the running backs in the AFC North, and they put Najee Harris 1. And it turned into this like giant dialogue of like, Najee Harris might be number 4, which is fair. Like, I would put easily, handedly, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon over Najee Harris. He's at best 3. And then there's like Steelers fans coming out of the woodworking, just being Steelers fans. And I recognize the situation that I come from, where it's one of those fan bases, kind of like Dallas, like where they just focus on living in the 1970s as if that means anything today.
Don't put yourself on Dallas's level. Come on now. They've been chasing. They're a little bit farther down because they don't have as much to show, I think. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I think like in terms of tiers, like if we're going just like crap fan bases, like GOAT tier or like Cowboys, you could probably throw the Eagles in there too. But like right below that tier, it's like Steelers, Patriots, right in there. Like, I think that those are like, overall, like there's an exception for every rule, but as a whole, those are probably the 4 most just like annoying fan bases.
Yeah, I think the Giants probably fall into that a little bit as well. My fan base, I don't normally claim them, but I think that fan bases like my own, like yours, you've been spoiled at some point, some more spoiled than others. So the expectation is a little bit higher. So things hurt a little bit more. They're a little bit more painful. They're, you're expecting more because you've gotten a taste of what that looks like to be awesome, to win Super Bowls, to be one of those fantastic powerhouses in the league.
Do you know when the last time the Steelers had a sub 500 record was?
Oh my, I don't freaking know. Probably 99.
It was 2003. You know how old I was at that point? I was 5.
Oh my gosh.
They haven't had a sub 500 record in almost 20 years, which is ungodly.
Yeah, what was I? Geez, I was in like 5th, 4th grade, something like that. Oh my Lord.
And so when you have that level of just consistency, it's almost a guaranteed 8 wins a year. You're gonna have those expectations, which I get. I totally understand that. But the fire Mike Tomlin crowd that seems to always come out of their woodworking every year. They might be the most annoying human beings. Like, who are they going to hire that's going to be better? Tell me who you would like to have in there that would do better than what he's done, please.
It's honestly, it's so funny because a lot of these fan bases, like the ones we just talked about, you have a fan base that's like this and is bratty and has a couple of, I don't know how to say it, lunatics is the only word I can come up with, is because you can name, like, you're either this type of fan, this type of fan, this type of fan, or this type of fan. Yeah. They always have like 4 types. And you guys have the people that want to fire Tomlin, the people that want to go out and still get a quarterback, even though you have gone and addressed that. The people that everyone has that Najee was a huge mistake. Like, those are the type of guys, and I know it because you see it across these fan bases. And it's difficult because I get that the expectation is obviously what you're so used to, but when change happens, it's a lot to. I think that Steelers fans, one thing that you should be optimistic about, like we talked about, like you said, I mean, Ben's arm was not what Ben's arm was, what we grew up, what we've known for a very long time. And what came with that was not, I mean, the ball wasn't going down the field the way that everyone wanted it to go down the field. I think that, they did a nice job. And we'll get into it, is they've done a nice job replenishing the offense after, you lose a Juju, you lose a McLeod, a Washington, you lose those guys. I think that they've made the right moves in Pickens, Pickens is such a Steelers pick. Like, I didn't even realize it while it was happening. I'm like, why didn't I even think of that myself? Of course he's going to the freaking Steelers. Like, that is the perfect, you get a downfield target immediately for Pickett, even for Trubisky. You get someone that has strong catching abilities, that has ball tracking skills. Like, is he a outside slot? I don't know how exactly they'll fit him in, and maybe you can tell me better than I would know because I don't watch this team repeatedly. But I think you got a guy that it's very on brand for the Steelers. A little bit spicy. He fell a little bit. He fell a little bit too far. He comes in. He's a great talent. And could ultimately be one of the guys that we talk about for a very long time in the league. But he comes with a little baggage, and he has to keep it together, and he likes to,
he'll fit in with the most. He'll fit in with the random group or this recent group of receivers for the Steelers because all of them seem to be freaking goons. But I think for them, if they're smart, the way that they'll use these receivers, they'll have Deontay Johnson and George Pickens on the outside. Put Chase Claypool in the slot, please God. Because
I don't understand what is the issue there.
They seem to be so bullish on making him a downfield threat. And if anybody has time and has the Game Pass app, go watch the coach's film from the Raiders game and watch how many times they try to target Chase Claypool downfield and watch how he just gets bullied by Casey Hayward. It is ungodly. Like, Chase Claypool is 8 feet tall, is built like he's carved out of stone, and downfield, like, he just doesn't go up to make these catches, and he got bullied for nothing.
Receivers like this, though, this is something, again, and I try not to bring up the Giants too much, but you see this a lot where it's like you're using a player the wrong way. You're expecting players to do something that is outside of their skill. Like, that is not in their job description. They do not work like that. Not everyone is this versatile player that's going to put their hand up and just get the ball. That's not how it works. There's a strategic way to use these guys. And I wonder if that this year, now that they have these new weapons, now that you did have a couple of receivers leave. What does that look like? And one of the guys that you guys got, back-to-back dads the Steelers drafted. Two of my rookies. I'm telling you, two of my favorite rookies. Back-to-back, round 4, round 6. Calvin Austin, thank God he went to the Steelers, because if any team can actually not make him sit on my taxi squad, make me get crap for backing him, like, Calvin Austin is freaking awesome. I get that he's small, and that's fine. I went down to the Senior Bowl, and I didn't want to be excited about him, but I couldn't keep my eyes off of him during practice. There's something about him, like, yes, I am turning into, like, this hype queen for, like, the short kings. I don't care. He is so speedy. I literally couldn't care less about his size, because he's a guy that's a playmaker. And you can use him in a way that I think could benefit this Steelers offense. Where do you think he fits in?
I think he'll be their 4th receiver, and they got that Gunnar Olszewski guy. I can't pronounce his last name to save my life, but from New England, the All-Pro returner. So he's probably going to take the majority of these returning duties. So I think they'll put him in. I think he could end up being to Pittsburgh what Arizona thought Rondale Moore would be for them. Yes. Where he's super fast. If you just get him the ball in space on like 3-yard drag routes, he can turn it into an 11-yard gain, stuff like that. Like, this doesn't have to be difficult, where he's such an electric playmaker, and he's got the speed to make it work, where if you just get him the ball, he'll produce. So I think he'll be, their first guy to come in as a 4th guy. And again, hopefully that's to, relieve Claypool in the slot, and I know I'm coming back to that, but last year when Juju got hurt against Denver, they did put Chase Claypool in the slot, and he had his best game of the year. So that's me just making my case for Chase Claypool in the slot. But no, I think he's a guy that if you wanted to put him on the outside to, just give Deontay a breather, you could probably do that as well. But I think his best use would be kind of how they used Ray McLeod in 2020. Like, they got him on a few like end arounds and reverses, specifically in the Philadelphia and Cincinnati game, where he just broke off and almost scored. If they want to use him as, like, I don't know, like a de facto Deebo Samuel, to like, just do that. Like, there's so many different ways that they could use him. And I think that, knowing Tomlin, knowing Canada, they'll get the best out of these guys. And Calvin Austin could be, one of these guys who turns out to be a mid-round steal.
Almost at times, like, the way that they've used Juju to, like, okay, we need to pick up these yards, like, just get the job done. Here you go, Juju. Like, get us the yards and get it
in different ways, though, because, like,
yes.
Yeah, because Juju was just like, he wouldn't go down after first contact because he beefed up after his rookie year. So if he caught, a 6-yard in, it turned into a 12-yard game because he just broke 100 tackles. For Austin, I mean, if he catches it and he's got a step, he's going to get, 15 yards. So in different ways, I think they can be utilized in the same way.
It's like him with speed in a different way. So it's like, if you get him, I don't know that he's someone, and I think what happens a lot too, and this taints all the fan bases, is like, everyone plays fantasy football, and everyone wants a fantasy football wide receiver. Some players are not fantasy football wide receivers.
No.
That's okay, but that doesn't mean they're bad at football. It doesn't mean that they can't benefit a team. And I think Calvin Austin, he's not going to be a flashy name for fantasy football, but I think he's a guy that can be a weapon on the outside when you need him. I don't think that is he going to have some phenomenal wide receiver?
He'll make 2 plays a game that make everybody go, damn it, I wish he was on my team.
Right, like, he's going to be the guy that you want to go on YouTube. He's going to make some sweet YouTube clips.
He'll be like Tavon Austin.
Yes, very, very, very much so. Another player that I loved, I got to interview him when I was down in Alabama, is Connor Heyward. And, Pittsburgh, yes, they are big family guys. This team loves a good family narrative. I think there's more to Connor Heyward than just, like, let's get the brothers back together. He is one of, if not the most versatile rookie in this draft. I stand by that. Where do you think he fits into this offense?
I'm glad that you're high on this, because I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum when it comes to this.
I love it.
I saw them draft, and I was like, oh, great. They drafted Cam Hayward's brother. Huzzah. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about him. I'm not going to pretend like I was, in depth on Michigan State film watching. I wasn't.
Well, I moved here, so I started to. He was on. I'm like, oh, who is this? Everyone hates fullbacks, and I am still like stuck in my ways, the ways like Mike Zimmer is. But I think that he could end up being a big special team stud for you guys.
And that's great. Right now, they're paying Derek Watt $2 million to be a special team stud. I don't need any more special team studs.
I know. But, all right, let me be higher. Jeez, I'm trying. Oh no,
okay. Let me say something nice about Connor Heyward though, because I don't want to just be
He's
2 minutes.
He's played every position ever. He was. I'll send you videos after this of my.
Please do actually. Like coolest, I need.
He is the coolest kid. I'm not even kidding you. By far, between him, like there was like 2 other guys, Greg Dulcich, a few guys I talked to down there, and like he just gets it. Like all he wants to do is play football. Like he doesn't care about dumb media questions. He is willing to play any position. Like if you told him, if he went out there and bulked up and they're like, okay, you're going to be a linebacker now, or you're going to play this. He's played everything. And he's just like, I do whatever I'm told kind of thing.
If he ends up being like the second or third tight end behind Freiermuth and I think Gentry's still there, then sure, whatever, that's fine. If he plays special teams, that's great. I mean, he's not expensive or anything like that. So look, if they decide to let go of a different brother in Derek Watt and he just becomes that, fills the role of Derek Watt, then sure, whatever, that's fine. But yeah, no, when I saw it, I wasn't angry by any means, but I wasn't like jumping up and down for joy that Cam Hayward's brother is also a Steeler now.
And once you get to once you get to the 6th round, things start to get a little hairy anyways. So whatever. I think if anything, you get a good storyline. It's nice for the locker room.
I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
I mean,
there's
it's
a silver
better
lining.
than. And then I'll jump off the draft because I know I'm talking a lot about it. Is if you had to bet who starts the most games this season?
If I had to bet, I feel like Mitch will start the most. Like I feel like he's competent enough to win the job and then get them through. Like they don't have that difficult a schedule. So I think that he can carry them to, like I said, if by like week 13 they're sitting at 6-5-ish, after the bye and whatnot, there's no reason to pull him unless he's playing piss poor and the defense is just putting up points and like he's thrown like 4 touchdowns. That's one thing. But I mean, if he's playing relatively okay, again, we know what Mitch Trubisky is. He's got high floor, low ceiling. I don't see. Now, do I think Kenny Pickett plays at some point this year? Probably, just because. Yeah. Especially, they've got to see what they have. I mean, they drafted the guy in the 1st round. If they get knocked out of playoff contention with like a week or 2 left, yeah, why not throw him in there just to see what he can do? But no, if I had to bet, I think that Trubisky will be the one who starts the most games.
Yeah, and I could see this going out going as like where we've started to see this like 2 quarterback tango the last couple of years, where it's like in and out, someone starts, someone comes in, like it's kind of back and forth trying to see what you have. I just can't. Trubisky doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I'm sorry, and I am not one to talk because Daniel Jones is my quarterback, and I know everyone can laugh.
I like Daniel Jones.
I do too. I know you do. You're like the only person that is higher on the Giants than I am. So
I was gonna say you and I are like the only people left on the boat.
But trust me, if that boat ends up being correct, Twitter is burning down. I'm losing my account. Like it will be over. Like it will be done. But we won't. The NFC East is going to take me probably 3 months to break down because it's a nightmare over there. Let's talk about the AFC North. Give me the landscape of these teams and the changes that have made. Bengals now have very big heads. They're very, very, very happy. I know. See, this is what happens. You get these. It's a switch because then when you've been bad for so long, then you get a taste of it, and this is what it's a cycle, it's a lot. It's a lot. So talk to me about the AFC North.
Cincinnati, to me, I mean, is still the best overall team.
Of course.
The fact that, I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl last year, really off the strength of their defense. Like, people don't really talk about it, but their offense wasn't good in the playoffs. Joe Burrow got sacked 77 times. That's not a real number, but he was sacked 1 trillion times in the postseason. It was 9 times sacked against Tennessee, and then they're down.
Insane.
Yeah, no, that was ungodly. And then Ryan Tannehill gift-wrapped them a win. And look, give them credit where it's due. I mean, they were down 18 to the Chiefs and then came back and won in overtime. Fantastic job by them. And then they add just a giant wall in front of Joe Burrow this offseason where, I mean, we saw what he and Jamar Chase did last year when he had no time to throw. He's going to have 80 years to throw every play, and it's going to be ungodly. Like, if we're talking betting on potential MVPs, I don't know what Joe Burrow's odds are, but I bet that they're reasonable. So if you want a low-key MVP bet, I think that Joe Burrow could be someone to throw in there. Cleveland, like, we know what the wild card in Cleveland is okay, is Deshaun Watson going to be suspended? If so, for how long? And look, there's not many holes on the Browns roster right now. You could say
nice roster.
You could say
quarterback is like their biggest problem.
Yeah, you could say receiver too, but even then, I mean, they traded for Amari Cooper, so I mean, they've got a solid number one. You could maybe say linebacker, but even then, like that's a defense that doesn't necessarily rely too much on big plays from their linebackers. You know, they've got Myles Garrett, a great edge rusher, a really solid secondary, just full of guys. You know, Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward. Their safeties are very good. They stole Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year in the second round, so like their defense doesn't really have too many holes.
They had a sneaky good draft as far as their D goes too this year. I think people are underestimating their Browns D, which is going to help carry them should they get into a position where things get a little hairy at the quarterback position. Yeah,
and so it just depends on, okay, is Watson going to be suspended for 6 games, 8 games, 4 games? Is he going to be suspended at all? And then that kind of will tell us where they will go from there. Plus, we know that Baker Mayfield isn't going to be playing. Who's going to be playing when Deshaun Watson isn't there, if they do need somebody to fill in for him? So that's going to be, the story of the 2022 Browns. And then Baltimore, like, they drafted well, like they always do. They got Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum in the first round, both of them tremendous picks. I think they might have, on paper, you can make the argument that Baltimore has the best secondary in the league right now. Not to mention the fact that everybody for them was hurt last year, and they still managed to win 8 games. The only thing
everyone, everyone, not even like 49ers the year before. Like, no. Baltimore got hit on it was training camp, and they had everyone went down. It was done. It was crazy.
So the fact that they get, Dobbins and all their running backs back, all of their secondary members back with Humphrey and Peters, and they brought over Marcus Williams from the Saints. This is defensively, they're going to be really solid. My only concerns are, who is Lamar throwing to? Not named Mark Andrews. And, there's still a little bit of questions about, can he do that on a consistent basis in terms of become, one of these precise passers? No, is he ever going to be Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's ever going to be at that level where he can just single-handedly win you games with his arm. But he is a pain in the ass to game plan for. We know what he can do with his legs. Mm-hmm. But there is serious questions about, okay, he's throwing to Rashad Bateman on the outside, and who the hell else? Who else? I genuinely cannot name you another receiver. The kid from Texas, whose name is escaping me right now, who they use in the return game. That's the only other one I can name.
I have quite literally no idea.
Devin Duvernay. There it is.
That's it. Yep.
That's the only other one I can name. I have no idea who he's going to be throwing to besides Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman.
I'm hoping that this means that, and here I go going off the rails here, is Benjamin Victor from Ohio State is sitting pretty, I think, on their practice squad. Maybe he finally gets a chance that I want him to get, but I doubt that's going to happen. And I think
maybe they make a power move and just go get Julio Jones. I don't know. Maybe that could be something.
So there still is that. You have OBJ. I don't know.
Sure.
And OBJ on Twitter, I think OBJ is just chilling. He's rehabbing. Yeah. He just won a Super Bowl. He just had a kid. Like, he is on there tweeting whatever he wants. I wouldn't take anything that he says seriously. Even I saw today, I think the Cleveland Browns fans were all over saying that OBJ was you guys don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. It's fine. OBJ is doing whatever he wants. He does not care. If you were to, again, guess right now, take a bet, tell me how these teams finish in the division.
I'll say Bengals 1, Ravens 2, Browns 3, Steelers 4. I think all of them. I might actually switch Pittsburgh and Cleveland just because I do think that Watson does get suspended.
I agree.
Even if it's like the minimal length of
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger got 6 games in 2011.
Yeah.
It got reduced to 4.
Right.
Ben was accused of something twice. Deshaun Watson's got 23. I feel like this is going to be a minimum of 6.
Yeah. It's
and again,
something. I mean, I would be very, very, very shocked.
And again, like I feel kind of like weird just speculating on when that like all of this because I don't know. Like it's weird, but no, if I might actually amend that and put Pittsburgh 3, Cleveland 4. But I think all of them will have minimum like 8 wins.
Even peek at how this. Who are you guys playing this year? I
Week 1 is at Cincinnati, which is going to be a bloodbath.
Ooh,
it's going to be not great.
But
it's not going to be great.
Do figure it out, and I think that it's just going to be a different. Everyone just needs to be patient and tell me what your what is the floor for this team?
Let me actually pull up their schedule.
I am right. Too. I have to look it up because now I'm interested in what division you guys are playing.
Because I do this thing. I do it twice a year. I do it the night of the schedule release and then the day before the season where I pick go through each team's schedule, pick every game. I did it for Pittsburgh and I got to 9-8. So
okay.
I did.
But that feels like their floor to me. But then again, you're in the AFC and that's it's a shame because at least teams that are rebuilding and they're in the NFC, the Bears and the Giants, they don't have all of these. They
don't have all these Titans at quarterback to worry about in the same conference.
Yeah, you could still sneak. The Giants could sneak into a wild card by barely winning. You don't have to do much to get in there. So the AFC is obviously a little bit more cutthroat and injury. We can't predict that stuff. So you got to 9.
I got to 9. So week 1 at Cincinnati, I think they're losing that. I think they beat New England week. I do. I think they beat New England week 2 at home. They go to Cleveland week 3, which again I think Deshaun Watson suspended. I think they win that game. Week 4 against the Jets. I'm kind of high on the Jets this year. I don't think the Jets are going to be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be like a fun team that keeps games close. And the Steelers have been historically bad against the Jets in the Mike Tomlin era, so I think they could lose that game. So, and then they go to Buffalo, which they're not winning that game either. So that's 3-2, 2-3 maybe. And then Tampa Bay at home. So that's just a brutal 2-game stretch right there where they've got to go to Buffalo and host Tampa.
Not great.
So 3-3-ish there at Miami. I think they'll beat Miami. And then
I'd probably take an L there, I think.
I'm not high on Miami at all. I'm very low.
I'm not high on Miami at all either. But I think to me, if we're going to run with the narrative that the QBs might be switching. I think this might be around the time, because you go Bills, Bucks, and then they're okay, you won.
I think that would be. I
do
think that would be
VIP
kind of where
for slime time or whatever. But you're a backup quarterback. Get we're done. Get your Nick Foles ass back on the bench kind of thing. And I think that's where the switch might start happening because then
I think so too.
You have the Dolphins to kind of okay, let's regroup.
Yes.
Because the Eagles are going to be a good team next year. They'll be
again.
You're lower on them.
I'm so low on Philadelphia. I am so low. I think that Philadelphia, everybody is making so much noise about the Eagles. And look, their roster got better and they had a fantastic draft. That's awesome. I seem to remember a 2011 Eagles team that did the exact same thing and had a better quarterback and better head coach and went 8-8.
So that's kind of how I feel about the Jets. Is this. There's a lot of puzzle pieces. You have all the right ones, but you got to put them together, man. At some point, you're going to have to figure out how do these all go together. And unfortunately for teams like the Jets, you're also in a really hard division. You're in a hard it's a little bit different. I think the Eagles are going to get, lucky for them. They're going to look, again, much better than I think they actually are.
And here's the thing. Last year with Philadelphia, they didn't beat anybody good. And I think their best passer is the guy that they don't play, Minshew, behind Jalen Hurts. So, not to focus too much on the Eagles right now. I know that we're talking about Pittsburgh.
I would love a good Eagle. I can't wait to get to the NFC East.
I will be more than happy to just tell you how bad I think the Eagles will be anytime you need to hear it.
I love it.
So no, I think that Pittsburgh beats Philadelphia.
Okay, so then we go to Saints. What do we think?
Saints, I'm not high on the Saints either. That's 3 straight teams where everybody's oh my God, they're going to be so good. And I just crap on their dreams. A lot of question
marks, a lot of this and that. We still don't know. Jameis has to come back. Then it's Michael Thomas is not coming.
It's Dennis Allen is the head coach. And the last time he was the head coach, it was a historically bad year for the Raiders. I'm not buying the Saints.
The Saints are another team to me where it's they're not going to lose a lot of games. But that doesn't mean that they're
I think they'll be mediocre.
Yeah, they'll be average. Fine. Sure. Okay, we'll take them being average. So we lose there, and then we go to Falcons. They'll get
Cincinnati. Cincinnati again, week
Oh,
11.
I missed that. Okay.
I don't think they're going to beat Cincinnati at all this year. I think Cincinnati will sweep them.
Okay.
And then they go to Indianapolis, which is interesting because I love Matt Ryan. Offensively, though, like, what do they have not named Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah. So everyone's expecting Pittman to be the next coming of Jesus himself. So
I think Pittman's fine. He's fine. He's nothing more than fine.
I'm more interested in if they can get Alec Pierce going than I am in Pittman getting started. But I don't think the Colts are going to be as bad as everyone talks about. So what are you taking? Win or a loss here?
I think Indianapolis should probably still beat them, but the Steelers are like very good on Monday Night Football, and I believe in superstitions like that. So that's one that they could win. Okay. Then they go to Atlanta, which will be just a public massacre because Atlanta's going to be horrible.
Yes. Okay. Great. And it'll probably be the first time that they put Ritter fully on the field.
Yeah, I think Desmond Ritter will be on the field at that point.
The defense is going to
Hayward
Watt is going to swallow him.
Can you imagine if that's his first start is just against Cam Hayward and TJ Watt just eating him alive for 3 hours? Oh my goodness.
I cannot. I feel awful for the kid because I think he actually has a lot of potential. Okay, Ravens again.
This is the first game against the Ravens, so they don't play the Ravens till week 14, which feels late, but it's a home game against the Ravens. Recently, it seems like now Pittsburgh has beaten Baltimore each of the last 4 meetings. So, but prior to that, it felt like the home team actually lost more. So, I mean, if everybody's healthy on both sides of the ball, I think they'll split them. So, I mean, you can give whichever one to Baltimore that you want. I think they'll go kind of 1-1. Then at Carolina, the Steelers should win that. So now the game against Vegas, the Steelers are god awful against the Raiders. And since 2005, since Ben Roethlisberger took over, they're like 1-6 or something against. It's brutal. They are horrible against the Raiders. And plus, I mean, the Raiders made a lot of upgrades this year too, so I think that the Raiders should win that game. And then at Baltimore, again, if they lost that first one, I think they'll win this one. And then they close with Cleveland, which, if Watson did get suspended, he'll be back by then. And, a playoff berth could be on the line. So, yeah, somewhere between 8 and 9 wins. If they went 8 and 9, it wouldn't surprise me. If they went 9 and 8, it wouldn't surprise me. But I think the bare minimum that they win is 7. And I think it'll be 8.
Would you be content with that?
7 and 10? No. I think 8 is. I think 8's kind of there. And look, it comes back to Steelers fans just being so accustomed to it. But I don't know. I think that with all the turnover that they've had, they've still got a solid roster. You don't really know what you have at quarterback. As long as they're if it's a competitive 7 and 10, then maybe that's something that you can write home about. But I mean, 8 and 9, 9 and 8 is like, I think, kind of the sweet spot for most fans. We're like, okay, you know what? At least we kind of gave it hell until the last week of the year.
And it's so funny because you're like your guys' version of like this, like it's not even a rebuild or anything. Like it's like it's still good. You're like basically like just taking off some of the top layer. Like
I was just about to say, like it's not so much rebuilding as much as it is like remodeling a guest room. Like it's it's now granted, quarterback is the most important position in sports, so that's a big part of it. So
but these days you can go out and get a new one like it's no big deal. Like
that's the thing. And I think that's a big thing of why I'm going to be intrigued to see how they treat Pickett, because now, if you have a quarterback that you draft in the first round and he's not good after like year 2, all the murmurs start coming like, okay, we'll get another one. We'll try again. So we'll see.
But he's given a good situation because I think that a lot of these times, these young guys go on to a team that's the roster's not freaking ready to develop someone and take on like what their faults are and get them to a place where they can grow into a full franchise quarterback.
And that's the thing for like a guy like Mac Jones. I think we've absolutely already seen the peak of Mac Jones in terms of how good he's going to be. Like he went into a perfect situation and a perfect offensive scheme where it was tailor-made for his type of play style, which is don't throw the ball downfield, but don't turn the ball over and be accurate. That's all they needed him to do. I think that what we saw last year is kind of the epitome of what you're going to get from him. Now,
I think the Patriots they're having an identity crisis. Like they're like almost like con artists. Like they're to like what they like somehow they're managing to pull it off, and I think it's almost like it's their name too, but you have to look at it as it is, and that this is not the Patriots of the past.
And it's going to be some form of either Bill Belichick, Matt Patricia, or Joe Judge calling plays for Mac Jones this year, not Josh McDaniels. So I think that's absolutely got to be taken into consideration with, how far they can go this year.
Right. Absolutely. All right. I'll get you out of here. This is probably my longest one of these. I won't keep you much longer. Why don't you give me, okay, this is what I've been asking everyone at the end here. Give me one hot take for the Steelers this year and one for the league in general.
Oh, hot take for the Steelers.
You can think about it for a second.
Yeah.
No pressure. No big deal. I wish I could play Renegade right now. I didn't prepare that.
Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A hot take for the Steelers. I'll say that Pat Freiermuth would be a Pro Bowl tight end.
Love it. And again, he is one of those players that the fantasy football community is totally tarnishing his name, which, again, a whole other episode I could get into. I love that one.
I will say something that makes zero sense to me. Like, he's going to be the best safety valve in football next year. Like, as soon as, if Pickett's a starter, he doesn't have his first read, second read, nope, Pat Freiermuth. Just have him run, 5-yard digs and just stand there in space.
I don't think people I'm here, Kenny. Just pretend like Ben is back. Who is going to benefit from that? It's going to still be Najee, and it's still going to be Freiermuth. I don't know. It's everyone overcomplicates things. Like,
those
Freiermuth is not taking a huge hit. Like, you're acting like you're getting a gunslinger in either of these guys. You're not. Like, enough with the Freiermuth hate.
The offense is going to run through Najee Harris and Pat Freiermuth. Those are going to be the two main contributors. I don't think it's going to run through, Najee and Deontay Johnson. I don't think it's going to be Najee and Claypool or some sort of Najee and George. It's going to be, Najee out of the backfield and catching swing passes and whatnot, and it's going to be Pat Freiermuth as a safety valve. I think those are going to be the two biggest contributors on offense this year.
And these guys need a pacifier. Like, you see that in guys that cannot be, they're not meant to be fully, which I think Pickett, I do think that Pickett can get there. But I'm saying, as of now, these are two guys that aren't, you can write on paper, this is a QB1. I think that Pickett can definitely get there, but you see that in these guys that shouldn't fully be there, or they're in a bad scheme, whatever it is, they always pick guys that are their safety blanket. Oh no, panic, what do I do? Dump off to Najee. We see it all the time. So I think that Freiermuth definitely gets a little bit too much heat.
Yeah, I agree. And then in terms of a hot take for the league,
if you guys haven't seen where is that where you put the winners for each?
Oh yeah, here, I'll send that to you right now.
That was sweet. Yeah. You guys haven't checked this out. I'll retweet it and post it. It's honestly great. Because a lot of times people are too scared to, we want to go basic. But
you know what I have learned in doing this is that people are going to shit on you no matter what you say. You may as well be honest in what you think.
And they're never going to applaud you when you're right. They're only going to
that's why I keep my receipts. That's why, whenever I am right, I can, take a quick victory lap. Totally. So here, I will look those up.
Why don't you pull, and when you find it, why don't you use that as your spicy take? What is the spiciest division winner off of there?
All right, I did find it. Yeah, no, I'm very bullish on the Washington Commanders this year. I think they're going to win the NFC East.
Really?
You know what? They won 7 games last year without Chase Young and with Taylor Heineke at the helm.
That's right. You're a Carson. You love.
I love Carson Wentz with every fiber of my being.
There is no one, and I feel bad for Carson Wentz because I really think I think that Hollywood, some director should pick up, you could write the saddest sports film ever about Carson Wentz. It would be so sad. People would cry. I feel bad for the guy. His entire timeline, how it's played out. Now he's going back to the NFC East to another team after he got sent to the. It's not. I don't know that it's going to go as well as you think, but I hope so. I hope he gets something out of it.
I'm really being hopeful. I cannot wait for him to walk into Philadelphia. I hope he throws for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, flips everybody
that.
Just two massive birds at the 50-yard line, and just walks off. I think they play each other week 18. I think they play each other week 18.
They probably do, because for some reason these past 2 years it's an NFC East tournament here.
Yeah.
So
now I know
Washington is spite.
I do. I know that they play in Philadelphia before week 18. I do know that. So unfortunately he can't win the division in Philadelphia and just I would love to see him stick it to Philadelphia. That would make, if they win one game this year and it's just him throwing for 900 yards against the Eagles, I'm okay with it. But no, and it's not to degrade Taylor Heinicke or anything like that. Like, I think he's proven himself as like a high quality backup, lower tier starter. But going from Heinicke to Wentz, I think is a really good upgrade. They get Jahan Dotson in the draft, Curtis Samuel coming back from, they only really had him for one game last year.
I love Samuel.
I do too. So having a trio of McLaurin, Samuel, and Jahan Dotson, that's going to be fun. Antonio Gibson's, a solid running back, solid dual threat running back.
I like McKissick, to be honest.
Yeah, J.D. McKissick's there too. So, they've got a plethora of guys on that offense. And then defensively, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Montez Sweat, all former first-round picks, all make up one of the better defensive lines in football. Kendall Fuller, William Jackson. There's not a lot of holes in that defense either. If Cole Holcomb keeps taking steps forward, I really like Washington this year. So yeah, that's my hot take.
That's fair. That's pretty hot.
Go Commanders.
I'm also that name. I can't take it seriously. I'm a little bit lower on them, I think, than the general public. But it's because I've watched this franchise so closely. It's that's just fair. You're always right there. Why did you not? I will not let it go. Everyone that watches my stuff knows. I will never let go them not trading up and getting a quarterback. The draft prior. I don't know you guys were right there, and then you kind of let everything slip. Whatever.
I was banging the table that they should have traded up for Trey Lance because, I'm pretty much going to reiterate what you said. They had almost no holes on the roster. They could afford to give up a few draft picks where they didn't really need any. If they could have traded up and got a guy like Justin Fields or Trey Lance, they absolutely would have benefited from it.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. You do fantastic work. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate this. I might have to have you on for an NFC East show because I feel like
I'll dunk on Philadelphia for an hour if that's what you need me to do.
It.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the Philly one, and then I'm gonna have the Philly one where we talk and I don't make my guests uncomfortable. Okay, no, but tell everyone. Well, you don't want to mention what you're doing, but you have exciting things coming up. Where can they find you? What can you tell them that you're doing at least right now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, follow me on Twitter. It's right there at JBaileyNFL. Everything I do, Sports Illustrated, USA Today, 33rd Team. So all of that I tweet out. The Pump Fake podcast, aim to do it weekly. Sometimes it varies, but yeah, the latest one with Anita Marks, where we actually talk about the Eagles because her and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum as well.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna go listen. That's freaking awesome.
So yeah, that's the pinned tweet on my Twitter. But yeah, I have a newsletter too, where it's just fun top 10 lists. I'm doing top 10 uniforms because I just like doing goofy stuff like that.
Where can you find that?
That's pinned in my Twitter bio. Okay. So you can just subscribe to that. And when you do, like I said, whenever I do it, you just get it in your email. And that's where you can find that. But yeah, everything that I do, I tweet it out. So at JBaileyNFL is the best place just to find all my stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Before we close out, do you have a Game 1 NBA Finals call for tonight?
I don't watch basketball.
My gosh.
I watch football and wrestling. That's just about it.
That's fine. I love it. I'll take it. Yeah. That's okay. I don't know. I think everyone's wrong anyway. So as much as it pains me,
for anybody who likes wrestling, go rewatch that MJF promo from last night because wrestling is as hot as it's ever been. As hot as it's ever been. Steph, I feel like you would love professional wrestling. I feel like you would.
I know, and I do. That's the next one. I have so much on my plate. I just moved, but I want to make a point to do that. So maybe you have to help me with it. I'm going to message you after this. But we'll jump out. Everyone follow him. We're going to go talk about wrestling. I will be back. I think I'm going to go back next week. I took a little bit of a break. I was rushing through these. I have until August to do it. So going to come back, and then we'll start wrapping up the AFC North here. Be sure to subscribe, hit like, whatever people normally ask you to do. I will catch you guys next time. Have a good night.